Welcome. Dobry den. Did I say it correctly? I can say it also in my language. I think you will understand me. Dzień dobry. I am from Poland, so I guess if I would start talking in Poland, you will understand me a little bit. And I think it will work in the opposite way as well. But just to avoid misunderstanding, let me speak in English. At least I will try. I would like to present you my story about Agile world and quality management world. My story, how did I deal with quality management in Agile projects. Before that, I would like to give you some overview about the quality management itself. So I would like to present you a couple of information about quality management, then the challenges that we are facing now, and how to transform from quality management, traditional approach, into Agile way. Yeah, so let me start from the basis. Have you heard about quality management? Yes? A little bit, okay. Have you heard about testing? Of course, we are in the testing conference. Okay. Just to be very clear, I'm not a tester. So sorry, I can leave or I can stay and show you my story about quality management. Quality management is a little bit more than just testing. And I would like to inform you, explain or discuss with you how to implement a little bit more than testing in Agile world. So, traditional quality management is about using different methods, techniques, processes to transform the initial needs, input, customer requirements into a product or service. And this product and service is not just a product or service, but the product or service must be of enough quality. There are a lot of processes, a lot of standards related with pure quality management. Maybe you know one of them, ISO standard. A lot of companies have something like ISO audited, ISO certified side. What does it mean? That their processes are quality managed. They are repeatable. Yeah? So the risk of achieving product that is not of stated quality is lower than in case of companies that do not have quality management systems. To be able to implement something called quality management system, you need specific processes. And typically, quality management is consisting of 4 main processes. Quality planning. Before you produce something, first you need to plan for it. You need to plan the quality that you would like to achieve. How? There are requirements, quality requirements. So first you need to ask the customer, the stakeholders, user, whoever is involved in the project, what are the quality requirements for the product, service in given context. And the context is very important. Let me give you an example. Are these chairs that you are sitting on comfortable for you? Okay. If I would ask you about 8 hours of after sitting with them, your answer might be quite different. And this is the context. Something that is working fine in given context for a second may not be good for the long term. This is quality requirement. So first we need to plan what we are going to achieve before starting anything. Then we need to implement quality assurance techniques. So we need to first select mechanisms for ensuring that the quality is built in the product. How? By building the quality in the process. So things like using standards, things like using a checklist, things like using best practices. This is quality assurance. Quality control is actually what we are doing, testing. So if you have the product or service already done or partially done, you can test for it. You can check, control the quality achieved so far. And of course, to make the whole process working, you need to have a control above the process of management itself. So you need to have means for quality improvement. Ideally, continuous improvement. This is the process. There are a lot of approaches, a lot of tools, techniques supporting the process. Maybe you know some of them. Maybe you know TQM, Total Quality Management, Deming Principles. I know it's ancient, but it's still working. This is something like Kaizen. Maybe you've heard about this. This is something like quality function deployment and quality house. Yeah, so a lot of techniques taken from so-called traditional school, a lot of techniques supporting the quality management. And these techniques, this traditional process, is normally related with some artifacts, some work products. In traditional organization, in traditional quality management processes, we have something like quality policy. So this is an overall, let's say, mission related with achieving quality for a given organization. We have different quality plans. We have quality assurance plans. We have quality management plans, so something that will guide the process on specific projects or in the whole organization. From your perspective, we have test plans, test approaches, test reports. We have validation and verification plans. Yeah, we have test reports, we have test summary reports, we have test defects, and after 2 years of this producing the whole documentation, we can have the product. Yeah, and actually, this is one of the most important weaknesses of traditional development. Upfront planning, upfront development of documentation, and only after quite a long time you are achieving the product or the service that the customer is wishing to achieve. So more or less, this is about traditional approach. Now, how to merge the quality management processes into software development. Software development process in traditional approach looks like we have a stages, phases, or however you call it. They are producing some artifacts, some work products, like documentations, requirement specification, like designs, like interfaces. And for each such phase, we will have a relevant quality management activity, like reviews, like audits. Yeah? And after each stage, we will have something like quality report. So the results of each stage should be controlled, and the results of this control, like test summary reports or review reports, should be presented to stakeholders. This approach requires, firstly, detailed requirements, including quality requirements, because otherwise you are not able to plan the process. Yeah? And needs detailed monitoring and control, which means a lot of metrics. Do we have some project managers here? Okay, we have one. Just one? Okay. Ask this guy, he will tell you about metrics and things that the project managers are in charge of. To be able to control the process, which means know the status of the process, know the risks, you need to have monitoring mechanisms, including metrics. Yeah, and this is very typical for the traditional approach. A lot of metrics, a lot of graphs, a lot of Excels, you know, such stuff. Okay, and now let me ask you a question. Do you think that the approach that I just presented you shortly, does it meet the current needs, the needs of the market, the needs of the customer, and the needs of your organization? Do you think it is still valid? I see no. Hard question. Yeah, actually it is. At some audience, if I would ask the same question, for example, if I'm asking the question my people, they are normally, yes, of course, we can do everything you want. You know the expert sketch. We can do absolutely everything, but okay, wait, what was the question? What are you talking about? I'm talking about quality management systems, hard things, traditional things, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of documentation, in Agile, actually, environment. The problem is that, the actual market, the current market and the current business is a little bit challenging. The actual market requires a lot of agility from us. Agility means not only, frameworks like Scrum and so on. Agility means changing of mindset. What does it mean actually? You need to have quick, fast development cycles to be able to produce products as soon as possible. So no, after 2 years. After 2 years, your initial requirements will not be valid anymore. Yeah, so you will produce a product, you will hand over the product to the customer, And there is a risk that the customer will tell you, great product, great, but I don't need it anymore. This is how the market is working now. So you need to have different solutions. Agility means you need to control the project, but not in traditional bureaucratic way. You need to have a means for control. You need some mechanism, but there are other tools. There are tools like Kanban boards. Maybe you know them. If you are using the Jira tool, perhaps you know the whole boards and so on. These are for project controlling, actually, for seeing the status. If we are talking about the development itself, Agile means also implementing the LSD, but this is not this LSD that you have perhaps can think about. This is just a set of development rules to be followed in Agile environments. One of these rules, very important, is eliminate waste. What is waste in software? In software development, a kind of waste can be documentation. Because in many projects, the customer, the stakeholders, do not need documentation. We, development, needs the documentation. The customer may not. In this case, producing a lot of documentation means waste. Because the customer doesn't want the documentation, the product documentation, requirement specification, and so on. The customer may want just the product. Yeah? So from this point of view, the documentation will be waste. To be agile, to be smart, to be fast, we need to eliminate the waste. Look how restaurants are working. Just in time. You are entering the restaurant, you are ordering food, and only then they are producing the food to eliminate waste. We can watch, we can observe different other domains and transform some principles, some rules from other domains, and this is an example. What else is about lean software development? Decide as late as possible, which means no extensive upfront planning, upfront specification. Because as I told you, if we will start document requirements in detailed way now, they may be just not valid after 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, or a couple of months. So define, describe in detail as late as possible, just in time. Whenever necessary, then we will describe it better. This rule, you already know this rule. Deliver as fast as possible. The customer is paying, right? So the customer needs to have faster results. The customer, look at yourself. Imagine the situation. You are paying a lot of money for a product and you will see the product after 2 years. It is very difficult to, well, control the quality of the product or even try to manage the product if you do not see the results, because you are not able to validate the result this way. You are not able to tell to the delivery team, to the vendor, if this way of thinking, this way of developing is correct or not, because you do not see the results. So Agile says, deliver smaller pieces, but fast, so that you can have the feedback very quick. What is also related with Agile, and that we need to consider in our approaches for quality management, minimum viable product. Have you heard about this? MVP. So this is the simplest product that I can give to the customer, and it will work. It will produce some value. So that the project may be still running, but the customer has a way to for example, earn some money, to revenue the costs already taken. Okay. Let me explain this a little bit more. Do you know the Scrum framework, more or less? Yeah? Okay. We have a Scrum framework which is actually quite known, I would say. So I'm not going to explain the Scrum itself. I have only one question. Where is quality management in this process? Because it is great defined. We have grooming, we have product owner who is thinking about some product increment. We have planning, we have sprint backlog, we have product backlog, so a lot of artifacts. Then the sprint is going on. Then we have some meetings. Then we have the product increments. And where is the quality management inside the process? Everywhere, you say. Great. I was thinking actually the same. Then I decided to check the source, the Scrum guide. I did a search. I searched for the term quality. This is what I found 3 times. 3. 1, 2, 3. The thing that I found in Scrum Guide is that, yes, there are some ways to increase product quality. There is higher quality, so there is a term of quality. We have quality goals mentioned, so it means that there are some quality goals that we need to establish. And this is all what I found in Guide. So if I would like to use the guide as a guide, actually, to plan for quality, it would be quite difficult. And actually, this is what happened to me. I was put in a situation that I needed to implement quality management in Agile project. But I am not, as I told you, I'm not a tester anymore. And I am not very Scrum guy. So I checked the source. And the source didn't help too much. So let me now explain you the case. What did I do? And a couple of months ago, I was asked by my customer to join a team, a multicultural team, and I was asked to implement a quality management system in an agile environment. Before I will tell you what did we do, let me explain the situation to you. This is how the project was organized. In Poland, what I'm sitting in, we have the Scrum team. Yeah? Germany, we have product owners and project management. In USA, we have so-called business users. And in India, we have external developers who are helping us with some CRM stuff. So that was the geographical situation, let's say. Now, a little bit about technology. This is not the full list of technologies that we were using. I selected only the most important ones. The customer wanted to implement microservices architecture. The customer wanted to implement behavior-driven development with Gherkin notation. Why? To automate, to support testing by automation. The customer was using Jira and Confluence. And we were using WebEx. For what? I will tell you in a few minutes. This is more or less which technologies we were using. Now, how the team was looking like. Of course, it was Scrum, so of course we had product owner with typical role, link business with the team. The product owner, she was very experienced in the domain, in business domain. She was an expert in business domain, so great. We have a young Scrum team, literally young people, and young in the meaning that actually they were not a team. They were just a couple of individuals sitting together. No team, because they do not work together before the project, they do not know each other. And we have a PM, project manager. And now you can ask, okay, Scrum and project manager? Yes, we had one. Why? Because actually we needed someone to take care about the all administration and administrative stuff like schedulers, risks, cost, budget, contacting with the customer, and so on. Yes, so we were Scrum with project manager. And we have some small devils who caused that this whole process and this whole idea of Scrum was not working. Yeah. And actually, that is why they decided to employ me, to take care about these devils and to make the process running again, yeah, with the goal to delivering valuable product. Challenges that I found. First challenge, great product owner if it comes about business domain knowledge. Absolutely brilliant, absolutely expert, but absolutely no analysis expertise. So product owner with business domain, but unable to transform this business domain into valuable user stories. We have product manager who was expert in project management. So he was absolutely brilliant in creating schedules, budget, and so on. But what was strange, he has no idea about quality management. I'm saying that it was strange because if you will look into any kind of standard for project management, there is always quality management as a sub-process of project management. So yeah, he's supposed to know these things. We have Scrum Master, knowing the Scrum process, but well, when I first met the Scrum Master, his first question was something like, "What are you doing here? We don't need you in Scrum. Who are you? What's quality management?" So he was not totally aware about things like quality management. He controlled the Scrum process and nothing more. And as you can see, even the controlling of the Scrum process was not really good. The consequences of this approach. We have problems with scope because the user stories were really poor. We have no acceptance criteria. We have no proper documentation for the user story, documentation like screen mockups. We have no guides how to actually deal with the scope. We have even no product vision. So we were doing something somehow with some results. Okay. No backlog management. So our dear product owner was doing like this. She was putting new and new user stories without checking if there is nothing like this already put in the backlog. What else we have? I found in this project. Problems with work efficiency. No standards, no good practices, no consequences. No consistency on the process and practice level. So one tester was reporting defects like this, the second one in a totally different way. And you may say, okay, what's the problem? This is the problem, because if you have no standard of work, if you are not repeatable in the process, you have no quality of the process. So you will not help developers, you will not help anyone in the process. What else? The Scrum process was not controlled properly. Demo, for example. Demo sometimes happened, but it wasn't the demo that the Scrum Guide is talking about. We have a problem with status unknown because, well, without proper work procedures, without proper, for example, traceability, testers were not able to tell me what actually have been tested, what not. They were guessing. So we were not able to check what actually is done, what was not done, what is the status of the done things. And we have great problems with communication. Can you imagine daily meeting via WebEx? We've done it. It was not working, actually, in our project. We have retro via WebEx. We have all the meetings via WebEx because of the localization of the teams that I showed you on the map. We have a team that was sitting together but was separate, together in one office, the Polish team, but we have a quite interesting situation when the developers were sitting in one room, testers, so we have roles in Scrum, imagine. Testers were sitting in different rooms, and they were not talking to each other. They were talking through me. So anytime testers would like to ask developers, first they came to me, ask me, I ask the developers. So that is the procedure that I found in this project. I would like to remind you, we were talking about Scrum Agile. One of the main practices is closed communication. What else do you have? Product owner with limited involvement. She has a lot of work to do in different projects in the organization. So her involvement was really limited. Sometimes she answered our mails, and sometimes she joined the daily, sometimes she also joined the product planning in the whole requested time. So that is what we have to deal with. That was the situation. Product owner representing the business perspective. We have the team, our great team, representing technical and testing perspective. And I was placed like this. Quality management, trying to, merge this all, both teams or perspective together. My role was to, let's say, ensure that the work products of product owners were of enough quality to enable the team to start working, and vice versa. I was asked to implement processes, mechanisms, tools to ensure that the work products of this team were enough to make product owners work better. Now, how to? First thing, I prepared something like quality strategy. And now you may think, oh my God, quality strategy in Agile. Why not? If you can have test plans and project plans in Agile, if you can have product vision in Agile, why not talk about quality strategy? If you do not plan, you cannot achieve, you cannot expect results. So we implemented quality strategy. A part of this quality strategy was so-called quality gates, definition of ready, and definition of done. Definition of done, if you are working with Scrum, you know it very well. Definition of ready is something called best practices. Definition of ready for user story can be something like, is there acceptance test for user story? If it is, then the user story is ready to be put to the sprint backlog. If it's not ready, we will not take it. Why we will not take it? Because it is not ready, it is not defined, understood enough to be implemented. Okay, so this is the first quality gate. That was the second, the final one, definition of done. User story is done, for example, when it is implemented with proper documentation, I mean code documented in proper way, when the unit tests are done with proper results, where the acceptance testing is done with proper results. This is done. Only then the user story can be considered as done. And all the quality gates, all the elements of the strategy were prepared with one basic goal: to achieve the value of the product defined as customer quality requirements. So inside the strategy, actually the input to the quality strategy was customer requirements. So in this moment, I needed to somehow replace product owner and come to the customer and ask for the requirements because they were not known. Just one example. The product that I'm talking about was a kind of e-commerce application that was supposed to work also on a mobile device. And, well, when I entered the project, we were not aware what kind of devices we were talking about. So I came to the business and asked. And this was one of the quality requirements, the quality level that we want to achieve. That was the part of the quality strategy. And one of the consequences of this information, what kind of devices do we need? One of the consequences of this information were some things like, we need to buy these devices because we do not have them. To be able to implement, to achieve the proper level of quality for the device, we need to have the device. Or we need to have a kind of tool simulating the device. Okay. One more thing about the quality strategy. How I did it. In Confluence. It were a couple of pages in the Confluence when I documented all the information that was required to present the stakeholders the quality strategy. It looked a little bit like this, that here the quality management plan was composed of quality risks. Now we have some validation and verification mechanisms defined. We have also test strategy, considering test scope, test approaches, test levels, test tools, and so on and so on. We have monitoring and process control. And actually, in this section, we have a link to Jira, showing, for example, test progress reports. So Jira and Confluence were integrated together to present the whole information. Believe me or not, but it was not a big deal to create something like that. Benefits were like this, that the whole team knew what are quality expectations and how to achieve them. What else we've done? Apart from the Confluence and Jira, we used also mind maps. Yesterday, Wojtek told you about mind maps in testing. It is working, actually. Yeah, and this mind maps and light documentation like this can help you to deal with the situation that you don't want to produce a lot of documentation because this is a waste from the process point of view. But you need to have enough documentation to allow proper working. So, if I would need to summarize the whole information, for me, the modern quality management is something like a kind of light process, effective process, working process, with no waste, allowing to deliver value. And what is important for me, the process is cross-functional. So it is not working like I am a quality manager and I am taking care also only about quality, because this is not working like this anymore. If I want to manage quality, I need to see the whole. I need to see the technology, I need to see the product owner, I mean business, I need to see the design techniques, see and understand them, because to be able to implement quality management strategy, I need to know the tools, techniques, processes to be able to check the right one for the given context. So, as a total summary, if you will go into Agile, if you will work on Agile projects, and you will be asked to implement something like a quality management, don't worry, because there is actually no conflicts. So we can deal with this. Thank you very much for your attention, and I think it's the time for questions.
Вижу вопрос.
Hi, thank you.
Hello.
So it's like paradox of quality management. If you a good quality manager, why do project need you in several months? So you already built the process.
Mm-hmm.
Why projects still need you?
They didn't need me. I set the process. I explained. I maybe not set. I developed the process with people, with the team. I showed them some guidelines. They created the strategy. And they didn't need me anymore, because the quality management process, as you I think said, was built in the Scrum process after this initial phase. So they didn't need me anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Еще кто-нибудь желает высказаться? Вопрос? Не проснулись еще, ну ничего страшного. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Может,
Okay. The battery is low.
Oh, really? I'll change.